Hey art nerds, we are back with another figure drawing demonstration. I believe this puts us at day 10. This is another pose reference from SenshiStock, and you guys can see my Dr. Pepper and my coffee cup in the reflection from my computer screen. Awesome. You can find a link in the description down below. So for today's, I wanted to do something kind of unusual, and when I found this rope climbing pose on SenshiStock, I knew that was the one I wanted to do today. And today's going to be interesting because I couldn't quite nail the pose in the first go round, so I demonstrate how to refine your pose by putting a piece of tracing paper on top and reworking from what you already have. So for those of you who've been kind of working along or using this mini series as inspiration, this might be a really good video for you today. So I have the base drawing here. I didn't start out with planning for this to be a base drawing. That's just what happened when I decided I wanted to refine it. And I'm just kind of fleshing it out. I'm not really thinking about the things I should be thinking about. What I really should have been thinking about when I started this was where is her weight and what is supporting her weight. And in this image, if you guys remember the reference, her arms are supporting her weight, which is quite unusual for this series because previously, almost every other image we've drawn, the legs are supporting the entirety of the weight. So I at least flesh out the arms before fleshing out the legs, but the legs were really what was interesting for me because there is a bit of foreshortening going on that I wanted to capture. So you guys see I kind of double drew the leg. This is where I decided I really needed to put a piece of tracing paper on top of this and start again. So you can still see my sketch as an underdrawing. This time I sketch in the rope more carefully. I figure out the placement of the rope because the rope is what's supporting everything. It's supporting all of her weight, and then she's balancing herself on the rope. So I move her torso over just a little bit, paying close attention to where the rope is in relation to her body and different points in her body. I use the rope as my reference point, as my anchor point. This time I draw her shoulder more kipped up. That's the one that's pulling her up. And I'm paying more attention to her weight balance in this image. Now I was really dissatisfied with how I drew her neck the first time, and that was something I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. It was something I wanted to make sure I corrected this second time. If you're having a lot of trouble capturing a pose, something that can be really helpful is to just go ahead and print it out, or if you have a tablet, use your tablet and just draw over the pose using constructive figure drawing, constructive human anatomy. That's going to help you figure out how everything sort of breaks down. So really, I should have fleshed in her arms a little bit more, but I was really focused on capturing the position, the pose of her legs, and now I'm kind of reworking the arms. See, I wanted the legs to feel like they were weightless. So, I don't know, that's what captured my imagination first, so that's where I decided to spend my time refining it. Now I'm sketching in her face. She's looking up at the top of the rope, and I want that to come across in the image. So I've already sketched in the crosshair across her face in an upward location, I guess to imply an upward glance. And now I'm just kind of sketching in her clothing because that really provides a lot of form reference, a lot of visual cues, not only for me, but for the viewer to imply form. Alright, so we have the basic sketch finished. Now we're moving on to refining things, refining her hands, refining her clothes. And I always draw hands by kind of drawing the basic shapes they form and then fleshing out, adding the fingers, refining the pose of the fingers. I'm also fixing her arms, kind of tightening up her arms, and sketching in her clothing and refining the rope. And I'm just sort of blacking it in right now. Now I'm going to start sketching in her face. I've covered this method before, and I have a few other videos where I talk about breaking down the face in depth, so I'm not really going to go too much into it. I did want to draw her in a grimace since she seems like she's kind of struggling to hold her pose so someone can capture the photo. So if you were submitting this, it depends on what your professor or your teacher, what their expectations are. You could either submit the whole thing, revisions included, or you could just submit the revisions. Alright, so that is the basic drawing. Now I'm going to go ahead and start fleshing in her face. I have a nice sharp pencil that's going to make it a lot easier. And I'm just sketching everything in really simply. I'm also adding shadow. I've mentioned in prior videos that I'm kind of studying how light hits the form while I'm doing these exercises, so it's important to capture that so that I can remember it for watercolor pieces or for future illustrations. When you're doing these sort of studies, it can be really helpful to think about this as making an investment in your future art or your future self, especially if you have a hard time justifying spending time working on these sort of pieces every day. Alright, so we are about done. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you guys again really soon. Have a great day, guys. Bye!